My first question is about family, and that is, what is an interesting fact about your family history?
Interesting fact. Well, I don't know too much about my mom's side of the family. I know they've been in the United States for a long time, but they just didn't really keep any records. But on my dad's side, on the other hand, I have I had a particularly detail-oriented grandmother.
Yes.
Who would remember everything about her childhood, and she went back and looked at, I don't even know how she found documents about where they came from. So her family was in Germany, near, I can't remember, I think it's Hamburg? And Grandpa was also from somewhere in Germany, and both of them just happened to move to eastern Kansas, which is, if you've ever been to Kansas, it's just cornfields and that's it. It's not a very beautiful place. But somehow they ended up in Kansas, and my grandma would always give lots of details about growing up there on the farm and how they didn't have electricity. And she would go on about, these stories about, this is how she would talk. One time, me and my brother Bern, we went to the backyard and filled up the tin bucket with hot boiling water. And he took all the hot water, Daniel.
She remembered it was a tin bucket.
Yeah, and it was Cousin Bern, and it was, Uncle Freddie, people like that. I think her father's name was Freddie.
Oh, that's our son's name.
So yeah, I don't know how interesting that is, but it's the only cultural knowledge I have about my past. The other side of the family, they just, we lived in Virginia a long time ago.
Yeah.
And my great-grandfather was a coal miner, apparently. So kind of interesting, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool, though, that because in the U.S. everyone has heritage from other places around the world, and it kind of gets lost sometimes. In fact, that's what I was going to talk about too in a moment. But that area in Kansas, I remember your grandma saying that there were German-only churches.
Oh yeah.
So they would speak only German. And did your grandma know any German?
Very little. I don't think she knew a lot.
I think that's kind of the generational thing. Like
she's
her parents knew it.
The last generation that spoke German.
Yeah.
Or her parents were the last generation that spoke German.
Yeah, but then for her, she just understood probably some German, but that community was for some reason where lots of German people moved to, and that's where your family's from.
Yeah, and they went through a lot of really challenging cultural changes. Like there was a lot of German mistrust and hate during that time, obviously for reasons that we can understand. Like
Political
we were
reasons.
At war with Germany a lot, so I think they were trying to scrub out a lot of the super German sounding things. Like apparently our last name was more German sounding at one point. I don't know how they said it, but and speaking German would certainly be one of those things.
Yeah, so they tried to kind of assimilate to life, and that's similar to
Tell me about your family history.
Similar to the interesting point I wanted to tell you about my family history is that on my dad's side, my great-grandma and my great-grandpa, they are from around the area of Naples, Italy. And first, my great-grandpa went on a boat, came to the US, married someone, had 3 kids.
That's a good story.
And then his wife died. So he
that's
has
the bad part.
3 kids and no wife, and he's working, I'm sure, a really difficult job. That was not a time when you could be a single father.
This was in Pittsburgh, right?
They were either in New York or Pittsburgh, but by the time my great-grandma came, they went to Pittsburgh. We're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So he wrote a letter to his mother, who lived back in Italy, and he said, I need to find a new wife. Can you help me to find a new wife from our hometown that will come here to live with me and help take care of my 3 kids? So his mom said, no problem, I'll find you a wife. I got her. Here's her height, here's her dimensions, get a wedding dress for her. So my great-grandpa got a wedding dress made in the US, the right size and everything for his future mysterious wife. We call this a mail order bride. He basically ordered her in a letter, like you would a package. And he, I don't know what he did with his kids, but he went to Italy, and as legend has it, one day he was in the house. They were preparing things for the wedding, and he looked out the window and a woman walked by, and he said, "Oh, that's the woman I want to marry."
Who's that?
Was that his mail order bride? Nope, that was my great-grandmother. So
Was it her sister? The original woman's sister?
One of the legends is that it was woman's sister.
Adds to the drama.
But my grandma clarified this was her mother. She said, "Oh, he saw her outside the window and
She's just
said,
a random lady?
And well, this is all a little vague because this is going back quite some time.
Excuse me, ma'am, will you marry me?
Basically. And she was taller than his other supposed to be wife. So he married her. Her name was Antoinette. He married her. She said, "Yes, I'm going to move to the US with you, leave my family." She must have had a really tough situation, I imagine. They were all farmers. I'm sure that was a really hard life, and that could give her some hope for the future. So in the wedding pictures, her dress is a little bit too short because it was not supposed to be her dress. It was supposed to be the other lady's dress. And I'm glad that happened because otherwise I would not be here.
That's Vanessa's origin story, really.
Yeah, and this lady, Antoinette, she moved to the US. She had 3 kids, and then her husband died, so she had 6 children in a new country. Crazy story. She raised them, and she's kind of what we might call the matriarch of my dad's side of the family.
Antoinette Monolfi.
Yes. Everybody who is from that side of the family knows her and reveres her. Oh, she was so amazing. Oh yeah, she just helped us survive. So we might say she was a survivor. She really went through a lot, and she was the right person for the job because she made it work.
Nice.
So yeah, that's an interesting story about my family. I'm sure everyone has those as well. So I want to ask you the same question. Let us know in the comments, what's an interesting story or an interesting fact about your family history? We'd love to know. Let's go to question number 2. This is about childhood. And I'd like to know, what's something that you did as a child that you still do now? These are kind of personal questions to start off with.
Well, we laughed before this because she said everything. So I am a little bit, let's just say, youthful in my approach to life. So that's the positive way to say it anyway. But something that I directly do, especially now, because I have kids, is catching critters.
Oh yeah.
Catching critters and keeping them. And I would say critters are generally small animals.
Yeah.
So when I was a kid, I spent, I would say 50% of my life trying to catch frogs, lizards, grasshoppers, snakes, bugs of any kind, and I would keep them in cages, and I would use nets to catch butterflies, terrariums, aquariums, fish, anything like that.
Wow.
I caught and kept lots and lots of critters. So there was probably a 5-year phase where we didn't do that very much. But funnily enough, even when we first got married, and you're into this too. I don't know where she got this. Maybe it's infectious.
We caught tadpoles as kids.
So we would catch tadpoles as just a married couple. We'd go down to the pond and scoop in and get some mucky gucky tadpoles and watch them change into frogs. It's the miracle of life.
You know what? I have a distinct memory on our honeymoon.
Oh!
We were taking a hike, and you saw this. I think this was the first time I'd ever caught critters with you.
Oh.
Because, I don't know, maybe when we were
She didn't know what she was signing up for.
Maybe when we were dating, we just weren't in those situations. But I remember we were on a hike, and you were like in a stream picking up rocks. And you were so excited because this is a good salamander spot. There might be salamanders. And then you found one, and I was so impressed. Like,
yeah, thank you.
How did you find that salamander? Because I caught tadpoles maybe like every summer as a kid, but I never caught salamanders or whole frogs or fish. We like had nets and caught like fireflies and stuff, but I think you take it to the next level.
Yeah. Especially as a kid, I took it to the next level. Like one time I caught a 5-foot snake, and I didn't even know what kind it was. I just reached into the bushes. I didn't grab it the right way. It was like swinging it through the air. And that was probably the dumbest thing I ever did, honestly, as, catching critters as a child. But it extends beyond that too. I've always liked keeping fish. I love making fish tanks in the environments, and obviously you can do that for frogs and reptiles. So I have big dreams for my son because he's also very into this.
Oh yeah. He is
probably
crazed
gets it
about
from
his
me.
net and catching stuff. He just loves that.
Yeah,
I mean,
so
it's treasures in nature.
Soon enough, our house will turn into a menagerie of critters.
I just have one rule.
Scorpions!
I don't mind keeping frogs and lizards and fish.
Snakes?
But I don't want to keep any snakes.
Oh, come on.
I know a lot of snakes are harmless, but
Cute.
I would rather the snakes live under our shed than live in our house.
That's more dangerous.
Well, if they're not poisonous.
Oh, okay.
If they're not venomous, then they can, catch rats and catch things and keep our chickens safe, that type of thing. But
Is that what snakes do?
yeah, a lot of chickens.
They protect chickens?
A lot of people, and this is getting a little
Are
too
chickens
deep.
critters?
I
They're a little
don't think
too big.
so. I kind of, when I think of a critter, I think of like crawling, like something
Or
that goes
hopping.
like,
Yeah.
like a little
Okay.
crawling thing.
Am I a critter?
That's a good question. But I was gonna say, some people, we have chickens. If you might have seen this on our YouTube channel before. Some people purposefully have a rat snake or a black snake, a garter snake that live in their chicken coop, and they eat like one egg per 2 weeks or something. They don't eat that much.
Is that good?
But they do it for protection. So they're keeping rats away, they're keeping other things away from the coop.
Wow, okay.
And there's a whole, let me tell you.
So you want me to bring snakes into our family,
Well,
but outside?
as long as they're outside, that's okay. I don't want snakes in my house. Yeah, so that's
I have lots
that's
of
a
good
whole nother
stories
step.
about snakes in the house. Like one snake escaped the house.
Don't tell me that.
And my mom found it like under the couch like months later, and it was like dead.
Oh
completely.
no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was one of those classic situations of mom screams in the other room, and we're like, what?
You kids have that
like-
snake in here?
Daniel, gee, what is this thing? That's what she'd say.
Well, do you want to share also, while we're on this topic, your first memory, the frog?
Oh, my very first memory.
Yes, this will drill in the point that Dan
I
really
like
likes
critters.
to catch critters.
Yeah, I caught a toad probably when I was 2 years old, and I was, for some reason, holding it off my deck, and I dropped it down into the bushes. And I remember thinking, no, my toad! And then I went down to look for it, and I couldn't find it.
And this is Dan's first memory in life.
Literally. One, at least as far as I know.
Well, there you go.
That's the point of
A
memories.
lifetime
As
of
far as I
catching
know.
critters started at a young age. Well, I think
Yeah, how about you?
for me,
What do you still do besides catching lots of critters?
I do catch tadpoles still. That's fun. But I think the thing that first came to my mind, and I tried to think about just like the first thing that came to my mind for each of these, is when I was a kid, I loved to dig in the dirt. My sister and I had two best friends who lived right across the street, and we spent hours in the backyard just digging in the dirt. We built things in the dirt. We had little inventions. We made homes in the dirt. We did so many things. And now I dig in the dirt, but I call it gardening.
I think we have the wrong YouTube channel. We just need to be covered in mud with like snakes and
Maybe that will be
Gardening.
YouTube channel
number 2.
number 2. Dan catches critters and Vanessa digs in the dirt and gardens. But I remember when I was in 7th grade at school, we had a class, I think it was home ec, which is like home economics. You learn about cooking and sewing and those types of things, but there was a hygiene section where you learned how to take care of your hair, how to take care of your nails. I remember specifically.
How to take care of your nails.
I know.
There's a class about that?
Well, it was like how to, I don't know, some people maybe don't learn that at home, like how to trim your nails and stuff. And this lady was one of those people that as a middle schooler, most middle schoolers just like roll their eyes at, like, oh, you think I'm gonna do that? Oh, I'm not gonna be like you. But she was our teacher. And she was telling us how to clean our nails and paint them and this type of thing. And I remember asking.
Was it for ladies only?
Yeah, we were split by gender. So there was boys in one class, girls in the other.
Okay.
Just for home ec. And I remember her saying how to clean your nails and make them look nice. And I remember asking in the class, I said, but what if I always have dirt under my nails?
You raised your hands and asked that?
I asked that question. I was so naive. But I said, but I always have dirt under my nails. I can't get them clean like that. Yeah. And she looked at me like, what? Like I had 3 heads on my head. Like, what? Why would you have dirt under your nails? You're a 7th grade girl. And I think after that,
be proper.
Maybe when I was like in 8th grade or so, I had a phase where I stopped playing in the dirt and did other things. But now I have come full circle and, well, I took a shower recently, so my nails are actually clean. But they are almost always full of dirt, just like our kids.
I'm sure you put in more effort to get the dirt out now.
Yeah, kind of. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. But I have the same mindset as a 7th grader of, well, my hands aren't going to be completely clean because
you really do.
I was just playing in the dirt.
Yeah.
What's the matter with that?
If you look at Vanessa's wardrobe, I have more clothes than her.
Yeah.
Half the time.
I don't really care about those
Yeah,
kind of
she's
things.
not like your typical girly girl. Let's put it that way. A girly girl.
That's okay.
That's my sister.
Well,
Maybe we'll talk about her later.